I'm Katrina Kaif, and I'd like to wish everyone who's watching the show a very, very happy Diwali. So with me today, I have somebody who I think you could say, if this person was in your house this Diwali, you would say this was the best Diwali present ever. So with me is my dear friend. I call him Rakesh Ji, but he does not like that. So what should I call you on the show?
Rakesh, Rocky.
Rocky, okay. So we're going to call him Rocky. I'm happy with that. That works for me. Yeah. And I don't like nicknames, so you can just call me Katrina.
स्टॉक मार्केट रिलेटेड इंटरव्यू वीडियो पाने के लिए मेरे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल आइकन को दबा दें.
What's your name, said Shakespeare? How does it matter?
What's in a name? What's in a name?
How does it matter?
For me, it matters though. When people chop up my name, I really feel, please don't do that. The most common one is cat. I hate being called cat.
But you have a short surname, not like me, Rakesh
Jhunjhunwala. That's a tricky one.
Name called Katrina Kaif.
It actually is. It's easier to say. That's why I actually refer to you as Rakesh Ji rather than the whole name, because it's a shorter one.
So nice of you, and so it's great meeting you, Katrina.
It's great being on the show.
What has Diwali been to you?
You know, for quite a few years now, I think I've been very fortunate that the friends and the circle in which that I move in, we always celebrate, I think, all of the main traditions. So whether it's Diwali, whether it's Eid, whether it's Christmas. So I think I'm fortunate to take part in the blessings of all of these amazing traditions. Of course, this one, the one that's upon us now is Diwali. For me, that's just light. For me, it's happiness, it's joy. It's freshness, it's a time to start again, it's blessings, and I think it's the most beautiful time of the year.
Yeah, really? And how do you like Mumbai?
It's the most amazing place in the world. I think it's...
And you're very well traveled.
Yes, I've traveled a lot. My mom, due to her charitable work, she's always moved around a lot, especially in places where, you know, there were less fortunate people, but I think she's imbibed in us a sense that the world is one, and it's not about countries, it's not about cities. The world is, as you say, the world is your oyster, and I think I can feel, and I always felt that I am at home wherever I am. But Mumbai is the best city in the world. I think you'll agree with me on that one.
Mumbai is. I can't live without Bombay. And home is where the heart is.
That is true also.
And, you know, when we were a child, let me go to you know, what were your ambitions, your fantasies, your dreams? And they must have kept changing as you grew up.
Yes, you said that very right. So when I was younger, my first ambition, which I remember, was to be a stuntswoman. I was very determined that I was going to be a stuntwoman, and I know that the type of stunt as well. It wasn't just a random stuntwoman. I was going to be a horse rider. I was going to be a female stuntwoman, the people who ride horses. Today, if you put me on a horse, I wouldn't do it. I'm just too afraid. It just scares me. But when I was young, I guess that's what happens, right? When you're young, you're fearless, and nothing scares you. And as you go older, then that's when all the fears creep up and the fears start. So that was one of my first ambitions. Then I do remember having another dream, and that was that I wanted to be a NASA scientist. These are the two ones which are clear. I must have had a lot more, but these are the two ones which were very, very clear and very specific memories for me.
You love the universe and the...
But I think the common factor in both of them is I wanted to be something unique.
Right.
You know, I think that if I had to analyze it, it was something... Both of them are very unique jobs.
Absolutely.
Now it's safe to say I did not become a NASA scientist, but I mean, you never know.
When did you realize that you are a stunner of a look? You were, and you will be. But when did you realize, because you know that personality does not come by you wishing it. It comes from God's. So when did you first feel that you have a personality which appeals to people? And how do you react to it? And I don't mean only in looks, I mean otherwise in energy.
You're talking about, just the general way people react to you. I think probably the main place where I felt, let's use the word accepted, where I felt that people really noticed and were giving me a really amazing feedback was when I was probably did most of my shows. So when I started modeling here, I did for 2 years. I just did shows. A lot of people don't remember that because they kind of remember you from Sarkar or from Maine Pyar Kyun Kiya, which released in that year. But before that, I did probably, I would say probably close to 600 shows in 2 years. I
Really?
think, yeah, I would think so. I mean, maybe more or less, but almost every day I would travel. I was doing shows, traveling around up and down, getting on a plane, sometimes the wrong plane. But I loved it. It was great. And you know, being in a film studio,
That's a
it's
live
a little
show.
bit more. It's a live show. Being in a film studio, it's more.
So do you go and
close.
see some of your films in the theatre?
The only time I went to a theater, I'll tell you what, when I went to Chandan to watch Kal, which was the Dharma film, which, you know that, do you remember the film? It was like a horror film with Ajay Devgan,
Right,
Isha
right.
Deol. Don't ask me why. I don't know what I was doing going to Chandan, but I went to Chandan to watch that film. That's the last time I went to just watch a film in the cinema. But to see something of my own, the first and only time I did that was Tismar Khan, where that film had a song, which I don't know if you saw, called Sheila Ki Jawani, which became very popular that year.
Even other songs, you had two great. One is Sheila Ki Jawani, one is...
The other one was in a film called Agnipat,
Agnipat.
which was Chikni Chameli. Yeah, that came I think 2 years later.
So what do you feel after Chikni Chameli? Wherever you go, everybody will be shouting, Chikni Chameli, Chikni Chameli. How do you feel? How do you react?
I think that actresses are very, very often known by their songs. You know, even when I read an article today about, say, Madhuri ji, she's done so many films, but you know, when you read,
That song-
especially in the smaller papers, you know, they will, or the Hindi papers, maybe not the Mumbai Mirror, but they'll always refer to, or they'll put this commonly or fondly used term of the name of a song before her name, or before most actresses' name. And for me, also, I believe that music is very, very powerful. It's a connector of emotions. I think it conveys emotions. It can make people feel, I think, almost more than words sometimes.
So when you came and you initiated your career, you must have felt very challenges, uncertainties, doubts, successes, failures. How did you react to them? And how did you what allowed you to overcome those challenges?
I wasn't afraid of anything, and that's what I always find. I feel that we forget how we used to be, and because our journey is so hectic, I feel we forget things somehow. Like me and you were discussing this a little while ago, where you said that when you first came to work as a trader in Mumbai, you came with 500 rupees. Is that correct?
5,000.
5,000, sorry. So you came with 5,000 rupees, and that's what you came to Mumbai to
बोले
trade
सिर पे
with.
कफन पहन के आए थे.
So I bet if you had to say, you probably had less fear then than you do now, and now you must have, many zeros after the 5,000. But I think it's the fearlessness with which you come, with which you approach your work, and that's, I think, a big part in what gives you the success that you get.
But tell me one thing, Katrina, you achieved so much in life. Being a star is so difficult. Hard work, lights on you, makeup, travel here, there. What motivates you to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and rush? And Reshma calling, come on, Katrina, come on. So what motivates you still? Maybe when you were young, you wanted some wealth, you haven't. What motivates you to put in maybe at 8 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the night? What motivates you to put that hard work, and I got to work and I got to be...
So I will answer that question, but first, what motivates you?
A sense of achievement. I deal with the stock markets. The stock markets are uncertain. Is the difference of opinion which makes the stock market interesting. And whenever there is a buy in the stock market, there is a seller. Right? See, wealth isn't going to mean much to me more. Right? But what gives me the thrill is of being proved right. And if I use the wrong methods in being proved right, I don't get a thrill. I get a thrill by reading, by understanding what's publicly available. And then being proved right is far more, and I live for a sense of achievement. My sense of achievement is fair means, being right. And also one thing now which motivates me is, it's not that I have achieved all my financial aims. I want to buy a private plane. I want to be but I'm a frugal man. And I also want to do a lot of charity.
Well, can I give you a bit of financial advice then?
Please.
Since everyone on the show will be waiting for you to give me.
Please,
I
please.
would-
Woman, let me tell you.
Since we are being frugal, and I think we can agree on that we should not endlessly or wastelessly spend money. Why don't you invest in those planes where you buy a certain amount of hours
Well, that's not
in the year?
practical in India.
No.
It's not practical. I have.
Sure, you can find some people, so you're going to fly this many amount of hours in a year. So you just buy. I'm just trying to save you some money here.
Yeah, I'll take your advice. So what
Talked about
attracts you to a
earlier.
man?
What attracts me to a man? The first thing that attracts me is definitely a sense of humor and a personality. If we're talking about the superficial things, because you have to get to know a person before you get to the deeper things. So on the surface, I think definitely a sense of humor and a person who has charm, a person who can make you laugh. There's nothing to beat a person who can make you laugh.
And
though.
no, one who can be
That's the strongest weapon a man can have.
and who can be chivalrous.
Who can be chivalrous. Now these are all the qualities that come in a little later. So then the qualities that come in later is, I think, kindness, is a person who has respect for themselves and for others, and a person who's trustworthy, and a person who knows themselves. Someone who knows themselves is a very, very important quality. Something I think we don't value enough.
What do you think of the dilemma that, women are the fairer sex? Women are, if I go out, as a man, I must open the door for the woman. At the same time, equality of women, feminism.
Sorry,
How do you react to this? I think it's contradictory in a way. A lady is a lady, never forget. And chivalry can never be dead in this world. But how do you react to the fact that women want equal rights at the same time they want men to be chivalrous, they want their daughter to be open?
Women want equal rights and they want to be treated equally, but that doesn't mean a woman is saying, I want to be a man. A man is still a man, and a man still has things, and a man still has a position which can never be replaced by a woman, and vice versa. But that doesn't mean either or should be treated any less or less equal. Equal rights, to me, doesn't mean that they are fighting to be the same gender or to be this. I mean, a man has a role and a woman has a role in life, and certain things cannot be changed. But I think the main struggle which you're referring to, or the main struggle which we see all around, is respect. Respect and equality in the workplace, especially. I think that is something which is important, because there's no other reason for
A woman
it.
should not be taken for granted.
A woman should not be taken for granted.
But one thing is there, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. So a mother is a mother is a mother. The power that a mother has, I think nobody can have. What's your favorite film of all time?
I think my favorite film of all time is Gone with the Wind, because I just think it's such a classical and beautiful
You
romantic
like the star,
notion.
you like the hero?
Yes, I also think Clark Gable is the all-time movie star.
And who's your favorite star of all time?
I would say also Clark Gable, maybe.
Who?
Clark Gable.
Clark Gable.
If we're talking about American actors, and if we're talking about in our industry, then I would say Amitji.
And who's that one dream director you would like to work with?
If I had to pick one, I would say, let me not say it frivolously, because I've worked with a lot of people who I wanted to. Maybe Raju Hirani.
Rajani, really?
I was wanting to make sure that it wasn't just because,
I think you've chosen well.
No.
And he's such a fine human.
Yes, yeah. I think that also factors into
What
it.
is your dream role?
Dream role would be any movie which every person in the cinema hall is crying. Any movie that can evoke that. To be able to evoke emotion, I think is just that's the greatest feeling. That's a good reason to wake up at 8
But tears is not the only emotion, Katrina. Even happiness is an emotion.
But I've done lots of movies which have made people laugh. I've done a lot of them, and I think that a lot of them have been. Even today, when I see Welcome on TV, like people can say, "Oh, it's what they call it's just a commercial film." In our industry, that's how they talk about it. But I remember how much people were laughing at the film. So I've been part of films that I know have brought people joy, have brought people laughter, have brought people thrills, and I think emotion is a nice.
Katrina, how important is money to you? Money, wealth.
I think satisfaction is the most important thing. Happiness, peace of mind, and love. I think these would be the most important things to me. Financial security only factors in, I think, when I see people who struggle for the lack of it. that's only when you realize how lucky or how privileged or how much it can matter. I think that's when I notice or even become aware about finances in life. When you see the people who struggle for the lack of it, those can be painful moments, because then that's really sad. But as long as you're comfortable or you're in a financially stable position, then I think it's all the other things in life that matter more.
And what does happiness and peace of mind mean to men? What is the part to it?
That is the question for us all. And if I have that answer, then
I have the answer.
You have the answer. So let me tell you what I think may be one of the ways to the answer, and then you have to tell me the answer, because this is one thing I would definitely need to take away from you. Peace of mind. There's a famous saying that says, "You're never alone. You will never be lonely if you like the person you're alone with." So I think that nobody can really have peace of mind or happiness unless they are completely at ease and comfortable with themselves. And that sounds very easy, but I think it's a lot harder said than done, because I think the world is so fast-paced and people are moving at such a fast rate, and things, especially in our industry, and as I think it also is in your industry as well. There's so much and so many things moving so fast around you. You rarely have to see or be confronted with who you actually are. And I think those are the moments in life where if you can be happy and comfortable with yourself, I think then you're going to attract the right people who will truly love you. And if you are truly loved, then I think you're happy.
What I've learned in life is that happiness is a state of mind. It's not permanent. It's transitory.
Yes,
it comes, it goes.
I completely agree with that also.
And peace of mind is more permanent. But I think the source of happiness and peace of mind is contentment. We have to be contented with what we have.
Yes.
But doesn't mean we don't strive for better. But we don't use the wrong means. We aspire, but we don't envy. I don't think that happiness can come through relationships. Happiness is something which is very individualistic.
Yes.
And very peculiar to an individual. And I have found individuals who have, who are earning 10,000 rupees a month, but they're so happy. I find they're happier than me because they're contented with what they have. So I think the source of happiness lies there. But we should aspire. If we don't aspire, then we'll become a sadhu.
So it's about finding the balance, which I guess also is the secret
Absolutely.
of life. You have to have the balance between aspiration, between being driven, between being motivated, and being content, not being discontent. Because also a great factor in driving yourself and in motivation is discontentment, because that drives you to perfection or to strive.
And also I realize that no number one is permanent in life.
That is true.
Not the richest man in the world, not the best actor in the world, not the best actress in the world, not the best movie in the world. So you must realize that all this success and all this wealth is all transitory. All adjectives are transient and temporary.
They are.
Wealth, success, happiness, sorrow, taste. I experienced the greatest joy of my life when maybe 13 years earlier, after 17 years of marriage, at the age of 43, my princess was born. And I have never experienced greater joy in life, meeting the most beautiful woman, having the largest number of drinks, making most money in the stock market, than meeting my children. So I think you have to experience it to live it. And then you realize what your parents are and what they sacrifice for you. Then you realize in life there are only really two gods, which are your parents. So I think children is, and I'm sure Rekha is very hopeful they look after us. I said after the age of 19, I have no hopes. They're going to be too busy. She with her boyfriends, they with their girlfriends. But it is the biggest joy of life to me.
I think, like you said, it's something you're only going to know that magic or that experience when you experience it. Like you said, it's that moment which changed. So the moment either a man has a child or a woman has a child. Like you said, what was it you said? That everything in life is everything in life has its own path.
And it's transient and temporary.
Yeah.
But what I feel, Katrina, after meeting and conversing with you, you're a wise woman with wisdom. There's difference between wisdom and intelligence. Whatever you say, you take every decision with consideration. So whenever you decide, take my point of view
Yes.
and my experience.
I will definitely do that.
So when are we going to see Katrina Kaif in Hollywood?
That's a question when Hollywood comes, as I've always said this, I said this actually many years ago, if Tom Cruise comes knocking on my door with a film, I'm not going to say no.
When I see all the Hollywood heroines, I think Indian heroines and you will outlook and outact all of them.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I'm extremely happy here. But I've got one question for you. There's rarely two industries which I think have one very common factor which is as similar as your industry and my industry, and that is the unpredictability of it. One day you can be here, and then in 24 hours you can come crashing down by the success of your movie or by the success or failure, and I'm talking about on a superficial level. And the stock market is also like that. So I know what it's like when you have the biggest hit of all time, and I know what it's like when you have the not very good film. But what is it like? Has there ever been a moment for you where you have seen a terrible crash or a terrible low?
Well, I've seen crashes and I've seen lows, but I have acted in a manner in which, at least now in my assessment, that even in the worst financial conditions, worst acts, I and Rekha are going to live the lifestyle we'll live. So money is not going to make any difference to our lifestyles. See, I'm not afraid to make a mistake. I only want to make one which I can afford, so I can live to make another one. So if I have made a mistake, a market has reacted, of course I do feel perturbed for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but then what now? Naya gali, naya dao. Yeah, crying is not going to help. I want to learn from that mistake. So there are two aspects.
So you don't believe in punishing yourself?
If I don't learn.
Okay.
I want to learn from every mistake. So as I have planned things, that even the worst, as I have planned things, until now they've played out, they may not play out in the future, I'm aware of that. That the worst financial events do not affect me and my lifestyle personally. And I can't go and tell my wife I've lost money. She'll say, I told you first only, don't go to the stock market. I would tell you a story where I'll tell you later. So what goes wrong or right in my office, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is responsible. So don't say you're not responsible, right? Accept it, learn from it and move on. And I like the unpredictability because I have to interest in life. Markets and women, both are unpredictable. Markets are like women and women are like markets. Always what? Always alarming, always commanding, always mysterious, always uncertain, always volatile, right? And both are concerned with 4-letter words. Markets with risk and women with love.
That's very true.
So it's how do you take to success and failure?
I think success is something which I have never allowed to go to my head to beyond a certain point. I think I was fairly balanced about that, but I think I take failure harder than I take it very personally, and that's something that one has to be careful of, because there are some people who brush it off with such ease that it's almost as if you wonder like how they learned from it. But then I think there's some people who take it very heavily upon themselves. And I remember once talking to Amir about this, and he actually said that he almost took like a year to get over a film of his which didn't work, and he took it so personally. So I think I need to work on that side of it, yeah. Just to not and to accept it that it's all part of life.
I mean, Tata's Mr. Mystery may resign, while stocks may go down. I've not done anything, I've chosen well. So, it's part of life, and your success and failure is not entirely yours.
Yes.
Others contribute so much to it.
That's very true. So for all the female viewers or for all the lady viewers who are watching, what would be the best financial advice you could give?
Marry a rich man.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh, you've just undone our whole interview. Take two. I don't accept that advice.
My advice if you may not like the advice, my advice is, maybe because I have it, but money is not as important as people make it out.
As?
As important as people make it out to be. And I think women should be conscious of their rights. And in a marriage, in a relationship, there should not be your money and my money. There has to be our money.
But still, if we see, okay, let's say for all single girls who are, let's say, working or in college or studying, is there one bit of advice you would give?
See, Katrina, I don't want to be a put-on. So I say, take professional advice and invest. You know, if I have a fever, I take a crocin, but my wife calls the doctor, my mother calls the doctor. So similarly, investing is not something which a woman or even a doctor or a lawyer or a child or can really, or a internet specialist can really understand. So take professional advice, plan, right? Don't be a spendthrift, don't be a conjuice, draw a balance, and marry a rich man is the ultimate advice.
I cannot believe after all the spiritual wisdom advice, that's what you are advising.
That is just no, but what is it that I can say? And one advice I'll give to every young Indian: the most difficult thing in India, urban India, is housing. So the first thing you should do is try and buy a house. That will, of course, that now creates inhibition because you have to shift jobs, then you can't, you can't sell houses, but that gives a great sense of security. And please, although I am a shareholder in Tanishq, jewelry should be a last investment. I know diamond is a woman's best friend, right? Not with her money when a man buys it for her. So, you must not be focused only on investing in jewelry. What's your ultimate ambition and dream in life?
My ultimate ambition and dream. I think when I have the answer to that question, then I'll have the contentment that we were discussing earlier. I'm not convinced that just being an actor, it may be one of the most important things that I do in my lifetime, but I'm not convinced that that is going to be the greatest ambition in my lifetime. And I don't know what that is, but I think life will show it to me eventually.
So you're still searching for it.
I'm searching
good,
for
good. It's very good. Good, you have a dynamic mind.
Well, it was lovely talking to you,
Thank
and it was
you,
lovely being on your show.
I hope you enjoyed it and you.
I did. Thank you very much. This was a lovely